is a message from your guides reading for Human Angel. So I have four crystals here. They're all pretty different, not really falling into any particular category. So I'll show those to you in a minute. I'm going to start with my Shadakite to surround us in protective space. Okay, well, your crown chakra and this area up here is feeling very, very clear. You're still having some blocks in the lower chakras, but this area is feeling really clear, and it's feeling like there's energy that's coming down from the top. Okay. So I have here my malachite, I have my obsidian, and I have my sunstone. So a little of everything here. This has a lot to do with earth energies and healing with earth energies. And then it has to do basically with any different psychic ability. Malachite has to do with psychic protection and also just general protection and then also grounding. It's a very grounding stone. Obsidian is also actually very protective. Psychically, it helps to protect your aura and cleanse your aura from negativity, entity attachments, all different types of things. And then the sunstone here has to do with your solar plexus. So ambition, goals, and motivation, things kind of along those lines. So there's still a lot of blocks going on with these lower chakras, though, like I said. Even though it feels like you are connecting a lot more clearly up here. So you're feeling a lot more connected. And this area is it just feels a lot more clear in general than during previous readings. So something is definitely working for you. But there's still this area where it stops. I feel like once we are coming down into the solar plexus area, the solar plexus can harbor a lot of insecurities and a lot of fears. Then we come into the sacral, and then this is a major storage area for a lot of people. Any kind of traumatic past lives that they've had or things in the current lifetime that they've had, childhood abuse or trauma in some way, it all tends to be stored in the stomach areas, especially the sacral down here. And so then the root chakra has to do with grounding, and we can really lose our sense of grounding and direction in some areas of our life when these other two are so off balanced. So I feel like once we're coming into this kind of area here, this is where a lot of fears lie. And I, excuse me, I am saying kind of in general here, that people can tend to harbor fears in here, but I'm also talking about you specifically. Once we hit those lower chakras, then this is where a lot of fears come in that have been held onto. And this is not only from this lifetime, as has come up in other readings. This is going back to past lifetimes as well. So then no matter how clear you are up here, when there's this significant block down here, and especially when it has to do with these emotions and this strong emotion like fear, this is still going to really block you from finding out what your life purpose is and feeling this general sense of direction and being able to ground that down, even if you are connected to your guidance up here. And I definitely feel like your guides want to address that. Some of this is definitely having to do with your first question, but I don't feel like they want to tackle that exactly, specifically, or directly. It feels like kind of indirectly because they almost have to say, kind of like, why don't you know what you should be doing with that? Or what you should have done with that. And that's not even to imply that you should have actually taken an action. Maybe it was the right thing to do nothing on your end, on your part. But the point is that they're making is that you don't know. And that's because your intuition is blocked by all of these fears that you have. You were even stating like this police repression thing or police brutality kind of thing, and that frightens you. But this is kind of a theme that comes up that your guides bring up a lot. Whether or not you ever hint at anything in that direction in an email or not, this is just something that generally comes up in your energy field. That in a lot of cases you're motivated by fears to do certain things, or in a lot of cases to not do certain things. But it's really both. They go hand in hand. So for instance, if your life path is to do one thing, you can have fears that come up that block you from seeing that, while at the same time you have fears that get you to do something that opposes that, or kind of goes along with a similar path to others that can be viewed in a sort of more acceptable way that's easier for you to integrate, because it's easier for others maybe to integrate. And I don't actually feel like you would have that much of a problem with whatever your life path is, with other people around you. I really don't. I feel like you'd be able to explain it to them. And I feel like whatever it is, it would be accepted, even if they don't get it. Like, let's say you were giving readings or something. It doesn't mean they all jump up and down excited for their own reading. But at the same time, they can still, whether they believe in it or not, or whatever the case may be, they can still come to accept, okay, this is what she wants to do with her life. That's what she's doing. And not, in other words, attack you for it or put some, excessively negative vibrations towards you over it. Where it's just kind of a simple thing like, okay, this is what she's doing. At the same time, you could attract something, but it would still be out of these fears that you have, and it doesn't feel like anything would actually come of it. It just feels more like people would be picking up on that. And since it's not really their own thing and their own issue, they're just picking up on something else, somebody else's, and in this case yours, then it feels like it wouldn't really come to anything. It's not really going to come to fruition where they act out of something in some negatively charged way, because again, it feels like it's your emotion rather than it belonging to them. And so there's nothing to really fuel it or to get some kind of fire going. And it just feels like it would kind of, uh, I don't know how to fade away very quickly. So you've gotten a lot clearer. Your guides are definitely stating that, and that's evident by your aura, the way that it feels. They're also stating that you've gotten better when it comes to um, grounding in terms of your energy. So this doesn't have to do with things like finances or finding your life path and purpose and things like that, but just grounding in the way of I'm not picking up on everyone and everything. Okay, so that's kind of a different type of a grounding issue. So you can have one grounding issue, and then at the same time, you can remove another grounding issue, or you can be really grounded in one way and then kind of up in the air in another way. So it all gets kind of complex, and different readers sometimes will pick up on different things. And it really depends on what your guides want to come through with and what they are choosing to say. That's obviously if the reader is able to connect or is able to be accurate. So they're saying that it's never like one thing. Sorry, I'm just having to look up some phrase that they're using because I'm not aware of what the phrase means. Uh, and now I'm just wondering what they are meaning by that. So they were coming in with silver lining. So this is definitely a term that I've heard before, but I never use it, and it's also pretty rare that I've heard it. So I'm looking this up. So I'll read this. It's just saying, use the term when you want to emphasize the hopeful side of a situation that might seem gloomy on the surface. Every cloud has a silver lining, means that even the worst events or situations have some positive aspect. Okay, but your guides are saying that you kind of tend to do the reverse of that, where it's almost like you cast your own shadows um, onto things where you're expecting the worst, or you're expecting a worse reaction than you're probably going to get. They're saying that sometimes your doubts and fears manifest, but again, that's triggered by your own emotion, and usually it doesn't really come to anything. But even if it almost seems like it has in the moment, you're just sort of pulling this in or attracting this to yourself. But they're also saying, um, it's odd because there's two kind of energies here. Because on the one hand, they're kind of saying, usually this doesn't happen. This doesn't really come to anything. But I almost feel like this is a thing of like people attacking you for almost like beliefs that you have and things like that. This feels a little bit more specific. It feels like people around you, like ganging up on you or something like this. That there are fears in there about how you can be perceived, or like how you could be attacked, how you could be attacked by other people for things that you believe or things that you're doing or things that you're not doing. And that normally doesn't really come to anything, even if there's something like some kind of verbal almost reprimand, or even if it even if there is a little something that's sparked again by your own emotion, it's not like you're really attacked or hurt in some way, which is more what your subconscious is almost expecting. Or no, they're not saying almost, they're just saying what it is expecting. But they're saying that there is almost another energy with this, because they don't want you to confuse this with other kind of general things. Almost like general goals, things that you want, things that you would like to become better in your life. And there are these sort of patterns of almost things failing or not working. Sometimes, not always, but this kind of pattern does seem to manifest. They're saying here or there, but it also feels like sometimes it happens a lot, sometimes it doesn't happen as much. So when they're saying here or there, they are not meaning once in a while it happens, because you might almost be in this kind of streak of luck where it keeps happening for a little while and then it kind of eases off a little bit and things go better for a little while, or you think that they're going to. So maybe they do, maybe that has manifested, or maybe it seems like it's going to get better and then it doesn't. But all of those patterns are out of a different energy. So that's not really what they are referring to here, although that's definitely pulled in by some kind of karmic energy as well. But again, the reason they're talking about this is because they're saying, how can you see your purpose clearly when you are afraid of what your purpose is? So that's really kind of what you're tackling with all this. or that's what they kind of want you to be tackling and getting at. But it's difficult when it's a fear, when you're so afraid of breaking out of something and you're attempting to heal it yourself, which it feels like you need to be doing, but it is harder because you have a subconscious fear, in other words, of letting go of this stuff. And that's part of the reason that it's been taking so long for you to get rid of some things that seem simple. It's because you're actually afraid to let them go. So you harbor these fears, especially around certain subjects. And they're saying that really your life path has to do with those specific subjects where you have these fears about how you would be perceived by others. So if you were to take on your actual life path and the career that you've ultimately chosen for yourself on a higher level to go into, you would actually be smacking that really, or it would smack you right in the face. You would kind of basically collide with this fear, and you would have to either face it or retreat from it. But you would actually end up removing it. The problem is right now you're kind of in this cycle where, because of your fears and because they do surround certain subjects that you would want to go into, you can't really see your life path clearly because you have specific fears surrounding what your interests actually are. So you can't see how you would create them. You can't see how they would manifest. And it's really having to do with these past life fears that you have. So they're taking a little bit of a pause here, so I'm going to go ahead and do some more clearing and see what else comes up. Okay, so again, they're addressing these higher chakras up here. So this would be especially these first two up here, the crown chakra, the third eye up here. So you have gotten a lot clearer here, and you're definitely receiving guidance easily. You're definitely surrounding yourself in a lot of positive energies more so, in a lot of protective space a lot more, and they're stressing that. So they don't only want to talk about these blocks and things. There are a lot of things that you have cleared and that you've gotten a lot better at. You're also, it feels like you're safer energetically, much more so because of how much more closed off you are. So energetically, when we just look at your energy field, that's where things are going much better. But it's still these physical areas, the physical things, physical actions. And these physical actions that you repeat in your life, or again, that you don't repeat in your life because of how afraid you are to take certain steps. So I know that this has come up before in readings with you. They're kind of bringing it up again here though. because you do have these lifetimes where you were somebody like a psychic, or you were someone with abilities in this way, which you have in this lifetime. You're carrying them through in this lifetime. Um, and you've even admitted this fear yourself after certain readings where they were mentioning this fear that you've had. You were even admitting that yourself, where you would have a fear of going into that type of career again, doing types of spiritual healing in that way. It feels like you have a lot of gifts that definitely lie in this area, but this is again going back to these past lives that you have where you were very attacked for being this type of person, which people way back in the day, obviously people were very attacked if they had abilities. And that was just kind of an ongoing theme sort of with everybody. It wasn't um, because of anything particular with you. This was just sort of the general thing back then. People with abilities tended to be attacked. So your guides, again, they're putting this a little bit more generally. They're saying that there are a lot of people who had abilities back then. They're coming into a lifetime now, currently, where they're having abilities. They can, they can connect to crossed over loved ones, or they can see different things to help people. There's some kind of spiritual healer or teacher or whatever it is. And they're coming in with all of these fears related to that. But this really feels like this is like a barrier between you and what you're actually meant to accomplish and all the people that you're meant to help. And it feels like that you will be helping. If you were to tackle these fears and go down that route. Obviously there are alternative routes, but it doesn't feel like they're as suited for you. So it feels like there's always going to be some kind of conflict. There's always going to be some kind of disturbing factor somehow, something that tells you this is off. I don't like this career that I'm in. I don't like this job that I'm in, or I don't like the people who are working with me. There's always feeling like you're not fitting in, like you're not supposed to be there because you're not. So there's always going to be that feeling there, and it's actually a positive thing. Your guides are saying it's something positive. It's something to let you know, okay, this isn't the job that I'm supposed to have. If you felt amazing and you felt really wonderful at these jobs or these careers that you're going into, or just places of work and the people that you're working with, if all of these scenarios and circumstances, if they were all just working out for you really well and peacefully, and you felt sound and you were making enough money, and if all these things were at least going okay, you really wouldn't question them as much. You wouldn't feel as much doubt about them. You wouldn't feel as off about them. And you wouldn't feel like you wanted to get out of them or you wanted to do something else. So the fact that they're off-putting is this is a way of your guides communicating to you, but this is also the universe's response to almost like your own, what your soul is crying out for, calling out for. So in other words, you really don't want to be happy at these specific jobs because this isn't really your line of work. It isn't what you want to be doing. So that's the reason that you're never going to be happy in these places. But it just feels like certain fears have to be faced in order for you to be happy. In order for you to go down the career path that you want to walk down. But it almost doesn't even feel like you've completely admitted that to yourself yet either. It's almost like you want to go there in your mind, you want to go there in your emotions, but again, you're too afraid. There's just these feelings of being attacked by others and all of this stuff, but we're living in a totally different time period now. So all of these subconscious fears, again, it really feels like they don't serve you, because now they're not going to be protecting you from anything, because they really would not manifest into anything. So that's one thing to understand, is that there's really nothing there. There's really just, there's nothing that's going to come out of those fears at all. They're not going to manifest into someone actually physically attacking you in some way, even verbally so. You're not going to have people that are just coming up to you, yelling at you, or attacking you in some way. Even if somebody doesn't accept it, it's not like in this day and age they really could attack you or they could really do anything about it. The most that they could do would be something that completely doesn't matter. You know, they can write a comment on your Facebook page, or they can call you on the phone or say something, or maybe they even say something to your face. And that's really about all they could possibly do. Even that, though, I feel like that would be so limited. I really feel like people would actually be open to you and open to what you would be doing. Even if, again, even if they don't accept it, like this is the, like I want, like I want you to do this service for me or something, whatever. Even if they're not going to that extent, they're still open to it, as in they're accepting it. They're accepting the fact that that's you and that's what you do. You're not going to be attacked for these types of beliefs or for this way of being. This is who you are. So it feels like this is really something that you need to integrate for yourself if you're going to feel happy, if you're going to be okay, if you're going to be successful and even feel that way, feel accomplished, feel like you're serving your purpose, like you're helping others. There is a feeling of animals as well. There is something to do with animals also, and helping to heal animals and the planet, and that certainly has a part to play in all of these things also. Animal welfare, that's definitely something that comes up in your energy field also. But even that is something where you can feel this feeling of being afraid of being attacked. Because really anything that a person is voicing out, something that they're against or something that they're for, somebody else will be opposed to it in some way. So there can always be a fear attached to that. But with you, again, because of these lives that you have had, like your guides were saying, you do the opposite of looking at the silver lining. So they're saying to just realize, really realize that these fears are just thought forms that haven't manifested into anything and really won't manifest into anything if you face them. What they are manifesting into would be you not being happy, or you walking down a false path, something that you don't really want to be doing. So that's really how it's manifesting. But what your actual deep fears would be of others attacking you and things of that nature isn't something that's going to happen. So the safest thing for you to actually do is to face your fears and to walk your path. And that's where you, again, that's where you're the safest. That's where you're the most protective, the most protected. And that's where things start really working out for you and opening up for you. So even in that way, when you're having constantly this series of kind of negative events where things are not working, and then maybe things start to work for a little while, or they seem like they're going to, and then they fall apart again. Even this, it's to let you know the course that you're on, the direction that you're going is not really suited for you. It's not really what your soul wants to manifest. Otherwise, you wouldn't be running into all of these blocks and all of these problems. Okay, so that is all that your guides are saying for this reading. So thank you so much for allowing me to do this reading for you. As always, I truly hope that this benefits you. Namaste.